ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting life of This Is Our Life! I mean, another exciting episode of This Is Our Life! Yesterday, I made 2 loaves of bread. Guess how much bread is left? There's about that much of an end of a loaf. Of one loaf, that's it. Just that much of one loaf. It's just plain old white bread. I mean, it's...
You need to open up a bakery or something.
Thank you. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's I had never made that recipe before. See, years ago when I lived in San Antonio, I tried to make bread and it never came out. I mean, it was the outside was like a brick. And the inside was just...
You were a brick maker, huh?
Yeah, and the inside was...
Gooey.
Yeah, it had a lot of holes and stuff in it. So, I sort of gave up for a long time, and then I started making pan de horno, which is a Spanish bread. It's similar to French or Italian. The thing is, I like olive oil, so I have a tendency of overdoing the olive oil.
It can be a little strong tasting.
Yeah. I like garlic and olive oil. Where am I from? Spain. Where do we eat in Spain? Olive oil and garlic. So, I mean, maybe
He's just trying to chase off the vampires.
Yeah. So, anyway, so I made that. After I made more than a few loaves of that, I started feeling pretty confident. And then we were in a shelter for how many months? 4 months, 5 months?
May, June, July, August, September, 5 months.
5 months. So I could...
4.5 to 5 months.
4.5 to 5 months. So I really wasn't in a position to make any bread.
Unless you want to make for the whole shelter.
Yeah, because the way the people were, at least in the second shelter, it was like, you all got to share. Not that they shared, but...
They were a bunch of buttheads.
Yeah. And, anyway, so... The place we were staying, we were renting a room from when we first got up here. I won't say too much about that. But, she was okay. He was not.
He was a new loon goon.
Yeah.
He should have locked you up and threw the key away.
Yeah. And, anyway, I made them a loaf of bread. And I made several loaves of bread because we sold them when we,
had spaghetti.
Had spaghetti at the CAC. And plus, I think we gave slices of bread along with the spaghetti. This is my mom's spaghetti recipe, which I happen to like. Oh, gosh, get something in my eye. Anyway, so the other day, or I don't know, it was a week or two ago, that I made another loaf of bread. It was more like a whole wheat bread, I think, but I added oatmeal to it, which kind of made it heavier and thicker, denser, I should say. It was okay. I mean, it was edible, but I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't do that again. I might make the recipe again, but I would not add the oatmeal to it. I don't think that really helped it at all. Then yesterday I made white bread, just plain old white bread. I mean, I tell you though, it has taste versus the stuff you buy at the market, which to me is the...
You can pick where to get your car fixed.
After the stuff you make and the stuff they make, I think they almost make theirs with cake flour or something. It's so soft, so smooth textured.
So, there's actually a friend of ours on Facebook. She and her husband or boyfriend or whatever, I think they live in California, and I think they're planning on moving out here. And I said, well, we need to hook up because she does candies, candies. She's
a candy maker.
Yeah, candy maker. And I said, you know, well, we need to hook up, and that way we can like, I can sell baked goods, and she can do her candy stuff. Don't get me around candy. I'll eat it. I won't. There won't be any to sell.
Yeah, that's...
Both of us, especially if it's chocolate. But so.
Well, I guess I have to crochet and knit then, since that's my.
Yeah, we all have our thing. So I had a name for my bakery at one point, but I don't remember how to say it now because it was in Spanish. And it was basically the Anarchist Bakery or something like that. But you know, I would have to find customers, and I would have to have a whole lot more yeast than we have now. Well, actually, we need a new jar of yeast. It's maybe enough for one more batch of bread, maybe.
Oh.
And yeast is not cheap.
No, it isn't.
We did a month or two or three ago. We went to the Toadstool bookstore in Keene, and I bought a book on wild fermentation. But I haven't tried any of the recipes out of there yet. I've never done wild fermentation. It kind of makes me nervous, to be honest with you. And I have this thing about having food sit out for a week on the countertop. To me, you know, it's bugs will get in it, it'll get germs, it'll just... I mean, that's just the way I feel. I don't want it sitting out there like that.
Well, you obviously haven't tried Amish Friendship bread starter.
I mean, that's what they do.
That's
similar,
very similar.
So, I mean, eventually I'm going to do some wild fermentation because it's cheaper than having to buy yeast. And I have to buy a jar of yeast. Buying those little packets, I'll use that and...
We need a whole case of that.
Yeah. Plus, with a jar of yeast, you can get what you need, and you're not using like 1.5 packets or 2.5 packets or 3 1/4 packets. You use what you need. You can adjust the amount of yeast that sometimes you want a little more, sometimes you want a little less, depending on what you're doing. Now, this recipe last night was different because you put the yeast in with the flour and some other things. And I tried making a bread like that once, and it did not work out. But last night it worked out. So that's good. And there's actually still flour left, but it's probably not enough to make another batch. Because it says, I think 6.5 cups, but you start with like half that, and then you just add and add until you can't add anymore. And I added all I could. I would have liked the loaves to have risen a little more than they did, which they would have if I would have...
Put them in warmer.
Yeah, and if I would have left them alone for a little longer. Because I think I left it for like 30-35 minutes when I could have let it rise for another 50-60 minutes.
I think if you put the stove on, if it has a warm setting, put it on a warmer, the lowest temperature setting it has, and stick the bowl covered in there, that'll help.
Now, what we had when we were renting a room from those people, they had a wood stove. It was a heat stove, not a cooking stove, but they had a wood stove. And that's why I would proof my bread was on top of the wood stove, and gosh, it really liked that. Gosh, it loved it.
Yeah, set it on top of an upside-down iron skillet, and then put the metal bowl on top of it. Yeah.
So, anyway, so...
That way it was not directly on the stove, but still got the heat.
Yeah. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to say. This month was bad financially, and next month is going to be the same.
Oh.
But...
Hush.
You know, we're making it though. We're living. We're not just surviving. Sometimes it may feel that way, but you know, if we can make bread and we can do things, we can find things to do. You know, I mean, we have books to read. We have cable television and the internet. You know, I guess I could go shoot, but I don't want to walk over there with the rifle. I can, because we have open carry here in New Carey.
I know the gas is expensive enough.
Yeah. Because I would normally drive over to where I shoot, but I don't want, if I drove over there, I probably would use up the gas. And I'm not going to do that.
And we haven't figured out how to make our own yet.
Yeah. So, anyway, I guess that's it. Super Kitty says hello. Super Kitty is not here right now. He's visiting with the skunk outside. But he says he will come to visit everyone before too much longer. Thank you and goodbye.